Next, we're going to cover row 2 of the rubric. Row 2 is about response 2B. To review, 2B is describe the incremental and iterative development process of your program, focusing on two distinct points in that process. So this is your difficulties and or opportunities that you had in your program. So the scoring criteria for row 2 is you describe or outline steps used in the incremental and iterative development process to create the entire program. So to have these two things, incremental, you need to describe the steps and how you added things to your program one at a time. And iterative is the part of your development process that repeated. For example, I added a new feature, I tested it, made revisions until it worked how I wanted, then added a new feature, tested, revised, and that is your iterative development where you repeat a series of steps. And here are ways to lose the point. The response includes only the process for determining the program idea and not how it's made. So a lot of people for their response will actually write how they decided on choosing what their program was about instead of actually how they made the program. If you do that, you will not get the point. You can also lose the point if you do not indicate iterative development. So you need to show where you repeat some sort of task during the development process. Your refinement and revision are not connected to feedback, testing, or reflection. So you should say when you change something that it's either due to testing the program, feedback you got from a colleague, like a fellow student, or self-reflection. And last, you will also not get the point if you only describe the two specific times in the prompt. You need to write about those to get the point, but you need to describe the process of making the whole program, not just the 2 points. So now let's check the chief reader notes for row 2. As a refresher, the first column is problems and the second column is how you got the points. So ways to lose points for row 2, writing exclusively about time spent brainstorming ideas prior to beginning the design and implementation of the program. So a lot of people only wrote about coming up with the idea and not actually programming the program. And that's exactly what this part says, is a lot of people didn't talk about the actual coding of the program. And people also lost points for confusing iterative development with iteration in a program. So iteration in a program is a loop, but iterative development is programming where you have some sort of cycle, sort of like a loop in your program, except that you're doing a set of steps to help you develop the program. Which, to repeat, iterative development is something like adding in a feature, testing the feature until it works well, refining the code as needed during your testing, and then repeat that cycle where you add a new feature, test, revise, and then go on to add a third feature and so on. And high scoring submissions also describe the overall development of the program. So from the beginning to end, this can include any of these things. For example, the design of the user interface and the algorithmic components needed for the program, and also the debugging and testing process throughout the program. So for example, here's some things that kids put that were part of good responses. Setting up the background and arranging the cards before developing the card class, determine the coordinates, tested the program multiple times, confirm the accuracy of the program by running it to check if it worked, getting the cards to flip,